So today we're going to be talking about our new story templates. In July, over the summer, we rolled out some new story templates, new tools, and now things are a lot more customizable. Today, my main focus is going to be just showing you what these new templates look like, kind of out of the box, and how you can easily apply them to your story. We do have other webinars available about how to customize the default looks with the story template editor. And we'll have another one about the long form format, which is another new tool that we rolled out. So if you're looking for information on those, definitely keep an eye out and sign up for those webinars. Today is just kind of an overview. So on my demo site here, I've just got some sample stories so we can kind of take a look at what these look like for the reader. And so the full width, this was a story template that was previously available. It does have a couple minor tweaks to it that you may notice if you previously used full width and are now using the updated one. One of those is by default now, the category block will appear at the top. Again, everything's totally customizable. So if you wanted to adjust the headline size on the default template, adjust the category block or hide that, that's all available, and you can do that with the story template editor, which we did a webinar about yesterday. So the full width template is, no frills, no bells and whistles. You get the content and nothing really to distract from that content. So in this instance, I have the featured image displaying above the story, and it displays there the full width of the content there. And then my story just goes down here. I've got my donation prompt if I have SNO donate turned on. And we do now, one of the biggest overhauls that these new templates have is how featured stories are displayed. So it's pulling in the 6 most recent news stories here, kind of highlighting those, hopefully getting you some more clicks on your site. And we now have the ability here to showcase the contributor box. So anybody who's a contributor means they have a byline either on the written story, the photo, or video. And those folks will appear here in the contributor tab if they have a staff profile on your page. And if that staff profile has a photo and you've got the contributor box here set to display the photo, which it is by default, you'll see that photo show up down there at the bottom. So that's the full width template. The next template we'll look at is the single sidebar. Previously, we called this the non-home sidebar template. And so pretty similar to the full width, except we get a sidebar here on the right side. And depending on what widgets you had placed in your sidebar in the non-home sidebar area, that's going to dictate what content shows up here in the sidebar. I believe by default, most of you, if you've not done anything with the widgets on your sidebar, you'll see this trending stories widget, and it's going to pull in the 5 most clicked on stories on your site. On mine, I've also placed an advertisement underneath that to adjust the content that's in your sidebar. That can be done in the widget control panel. We'll be doing a future webinar about how to add widgets and design those. So if you want to know more about that, keep an eye out for that webinar. But a single sidebar is just going to pull in any widgets that you've placed in the non-home sidebar widget area. Those will show up here on the right side. Another update that these new templates have is you can now see a photo next to the byline. That is a customizable setting that may not appear by default, but in the story template editor, you can set the byline to display the photo. Again, the photo is only available if the writer has a staff profile on your site, and then if that staff profile has an image attached to it. Otherwise, pretty straightforward. We've got our story there. You can leave a comment and then donation and related content down there at the bottom. Our next one is a new one, and that's the dual sidebar. It's exactly what it sounds like. So on the right side here, I've got my non-home sidebar. It's just that same sidebar there that was pulled in on the single sidebar. However, now we've got a second sidebar on the left. By default, this has no content in it. So if you use the dual sidebar, there's a couple caveats to it. First of all, your site needs to display at least 1200 pixels wide to show this dual sidebar. And then you'll also need to have added some content to the secondary sidebar area in the widget control panel to have something populate here. So if you're not seeing the dual sidebar show up as a possible template to use, just a quick look at this, pretty similar to the other two, but you notice that that content is pretty squeezed pretty tight because we have sidebars on both sides here. If you're not seeing this template show up, it means that your site is not set to 1200 pixels wide. Really quick reminder of how you can do that is come here under the SNO dashboard dropdown, select design options, and then in the appearance tab, make sure your website width is 1200 or wider, and then save all design options. Then you will have that dual sidebars template available if that's something that interests you. Our other two templates are the immersive photo. Previously, as you can see, when you open up this story, it pulls in a big splash image. Previously, this was used with the long form template in the container story. But now, if you use the immersive photo template, you can use it with just a regular story. It'll have that big photo at the top. And then as you scroll down, you see the headline, all the other content that's kind of above the body of the story. And then it's going to also pull in a drop cap there. So, and then you've got your regular content here down at the bottom. One thing I will point out on this particular story, it is categorized in 3 different categories. So it's showing related content from all 3 of those categories. That's the immersive photo. It is possible to disable the drop cap on immersive stories. That's done in the story template editor. And again, we had a webinar yesterday about how to use that tool. So if you'd like to learn more, send us a support ticket and we'll be happy to send you that video. Our last one, and this one gets the oohs and ahs, so at least I think it does most of the time, is this immersive half photo template. This is designed kind of like the immersive photo. It's a big attention-grabbing image at the top there. And then on the right side, you've got your image. So it's typically designed for either a square or a vertically oriented image. And then it pulls in headline, byline, all of that stuff over here on the solid color background. Again, you've got some custom settings. You can swap the photo from left to right and change the color of the background, things like that. And then just gets into the story. Again, by default, the immersives are going to have that drop cap, but that is something you can disable if it's not your cup of tea. And then we've got that down here. Awesome. Happy to hear that, Alicia. Yeah, I think this one's going to be really cool. We're going to see a lot of really attention-grabbing stories. I think readers will really like this too. One thing I'll point out is on both of the immersive templates, your header on the site doesn't show up by default. It's just the image, but if you scroll up, you see this new header, which we call the minimalist header. So it's got a hamburger menu here that's just kind of showing a few places you can navigate to. If you click that graphic header, it'll still take you back to the homepage and a search function, but it's not meant to be as big or as tall as your main site header. So there is still a header, but you just have to scroll up to see it. So those are the new templates. To select which one you use, you'll go to add a story. By default, it's probably going to select either single sidebar or full width. That's the default there, but it's as simple as clicking a button to select which one you would like to use there. So that's how you can select which one to use. Another new function here with these, and I think this is probably mentioned in a couple other webinars. However, if you come down below the publish box, there's a new box called story design. And then within that, there's an area where you can customize the story design. So if you want to override the some of these settings and maybe have a really big headline or something just for this individual story, you now have the option to do that and change some of the design settings at the individual story level with this customized story design area. Yeah, so Angie just asked about the grid option. We did do away with the grid option there. That's one of the legacy templates. We now have a new long form format. And so this is, you can build multiple chapters into a story, and you can do all that work on a single post rather than having to build out multiple chapters and make sure that they're placed in the same story. All of this work is done in the same story. And we have, I think, Andrea either yesterday or Tuesday did a webinar about the long form. So if you'd like to know more about that, which is what's replacing the grid option, we do have a webinar about that. And then the last thing I will mention regarding the new templates is if you want, okay, let me think about how I want to say this. All of your previously existing content that was published before these new templates is going to look exactly the same as it did when you first published it. So there might be a couple differences between the single sidebar and non-home sidebar template and the full width. If you want to make sure all your content looks the same, the easiest way to do that would be to come into SNO design options, go to the story page templates area, and then if you scroll down on the left side here, you can convert those old legacy templates that don't have chapters to one of the new templates. And it's just going to automatically make all those non-home sidebars match that single sidebar look. Or you can do your full width and have it match the full width look. The side rails, again, didn't really get something that's kind of the same thing, but rather the side rail, which previously showed related content, that kind of got moved to the bottom. So if you wanted all those to be either full width or single sidebar, that would probably be the closest thing to matching those. Long form templates that don't have chapters, the closest match there is the immersive photo. And then long legacy chapter templates not connected to containers, which may have been something people used. You can also convert those as well. Those grids and side-by-sides, those had chapters. And again, there's nothing really comparable to them with the new templates. So there's nothing to convert those to, but they will look exactly the way they did when you first published them. Nice thing here about converting all of your legacy stories. If you convert some, save it here, and then decide you don't like it, you can deselect that box, save it again, and it will roll all of those stories back to the original view. On the flip side, if you are editing any of your older stories that maybe use some of those older templates, you'll probably notice as you scroll down in story page options that it's got the legacy templates there, and you have the option to convert this story to a Flex Pro template. If you convert an individual story, that cannot be undone. So just be aware of that. If you convert any of your old stories from the story edit page here by clicking this Convert to Flex Pro template button, that's not something that you can take back. So again, I think the easiest way, the fastest way, and the way that's reversible to get all of your stories to match a new look is by going to the design options, story page templates, and then using this Convert Legacy Stories area there. So that's kind of a broad overview, just giving you a sense of what these new templates look like, kind of out of the box. Hope you're excited to use them. We're excited to see how you use them. If you have any more questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. I'll be happy to answer those. Otherwise, we hope you attend a few more of our webinars. And thanks for joining today. I'm going to stop the recording here.